All right, I've got a job to do, and that job today consists of got the Kubota KX040 excavator out here, and this area, this is at our farm. So this is a home project that I'm working on here today. And so what we had done here just recently is that we had 15 big pine trees that were right here in this area along that garage. Basically, they were kind of all sitting in there where the excavator is. But here, not far from the house as well, and we had all those just taken down. And so what happened over the years was that this whole area right here just had ivy that was growing in there. It was really thick. It started growing up all of those trees, and then as you probably know, or if you don't, ivy will eventually choke those trees out. And so what was happening is we were starting to see some remnants that these trees were starting to slowly die off. And so we had branches that were falling. And before it got too bad and we were dealing with a bunch of dead trees in here, which could potentially fall on our carport here, or they were big enough that if they went in the wrong direction, they could definitely contact a house. So we just decided to bring a company in, a tree cutting service, and do it for us. You know, I don't mind getting in there if there's some trees that are kind of out there around somewhere, and it looks like something that's feasible. I don't mind getting out there and doing that kind of stuff. Sometimes I can just push them over with the excavator. Sometimes I can just cut them and they're going to fall in a pretty reasonable place. But when they're close to a building like this, or especially the house, I've got no problem handing it over to the dudes that do this all the time. So these guys came out, did a great job. They did it all in one day, and they just busted it. They were here from about 8 in the morning till almost 8 at night. So a whole crew, and they had a big bucket truck, and they were topping them off, letting them fall, then they were just taking them down gradually. Hauled everything off. The next day the stump grinder guy came in and then ground down all the stumps. So then my job, of course, was that I needed to come in here and clean it all up. And so what happened is the mulch from the stump grinding just got kind of mixed in with the ivy that's still up underneath there. And so when I tried to come in with a skid steer and just kind of run that thing up into big piles, every time I tried to lift one of those piles up and carry it off, everything just rolled right back out of the bucket because the ivy is still up underneath there and it's still kind of attached and holding everything together. So after a little bit of thought here, I figured the best thing to do is just bring the excavator out here, and I'm just going to start scratching at this stuff and see if I can pull that ivy up and the leftover mulch from the stump grinding, and see if I can just kind of loosen everything up, get it down to the mother dirt that's down there, and get all of this remnants off from the tree cutting and the ivy, and then just get it basically back down to ground level like we have right here. And then the wife has some thoughts about maybe putting some fruit trees in here, or an herb garden or something like that. So, but anyway, there's some cleanup that needs to be done, and I figured the best way to do that, I need to get this thing out here and see if I can get this cleaned up a little bit better than I was able to do the other day. So that is the job. Let's clean up this area where all these trees were taken out. Let's get after it. All right, so that part of it, that's what I wanted to accomplish right there. I couldn't quite get that done the other day on my skid steer with the bucket on it. Everything just kept getting caught up. All the ivy that was up underneath there just kept getting caught, and it was preventing me from getting that top layer of shavings that was left over from grinding the stumps. So that's what I figured I was going to have to do, is get in here with the excavator and just start scraping the surface and start getting all these vines out. That's all the ivy that's been in there for 25 years, just thick, and it was just taking over. So that's what needed to be done. Get it all in a pile. Now what I can do is I'll get the grapple on my skid steer, and then I'll just come in here and start grabbing that stuff. I've hollowed out an area over there in the wood line, and I'll just dump it out there in the wood line. But yeah, so that's how I had to initially get that. And then there's still going to be some roots down here that we're going to have to deal with. I might even need to bring in some dirt and then just level all this back out again. But yeah, just a little bit at a time here. But that accomplished what I wanted to, is just being able to get in there and start to root up all that ivy. That stuff's tough. If that stuff ever starts growing on your property, kill it immediately, because it'll take over. All right, so let me get the grapple on the skid steer and come in here and clean this up, and then see what I can do about kind of leveling this out a little bit. Let's keep going. All right, we got that done. So I had that big pile right here. That was just all of the ivy that I had dug out of there with the excavator. And it was also the mulch that was left over from the stump grinder that came in here and ground down those 15 stumps from those pine trees that we had in here. And I put the MTL attachment on the skid steer, and came in here and just grabbed all that stuff up and hauled it off. So this MTL grapple that I have here, this is a nice piece of equipment too. You know, I have the MTL XCT brush cutter, and then I've also got I got an MTL bucket, tooth bucket from them, and I also got this grapple from them. This one happens to be an 80-inch. It wasn't necessarily what I wanted, but through availability and all that kind of stuff, they said, hey, we got an 80-inch, we'll give it to you for the same price as a 60-inch. And I said, send it. So it's a little bit bigger than what I would care for, but I'll be perfectly honest with you, I have really had a lot of use out of that, even though it's a little bit bigger than I'd like. But anyway, came in here and grabbed all that stuff up and hauled it off. And so that's what I wanted to accomplish at this point, is just get that ivy out of there and get that mulch out of there, and let's get down to just the mother dirt here and see what we're going to do with it. I have decided at this point that I am going to bring in some dirt and level this out. I mean, this is 25 years of an area that had huge pine trees in here. It had ivy in here. It had all kinds of stuff that was in there, and we've just kind of cleared it out. So it's going to be a minute to get it exactly to where we want it, and dirt will be the next portion of this. And then, you know, like I mentioned in the first part of the video, I think the wife had said something, maybe some fruit trees in here, maybe a little bit of an herb garden. So we'll see what she comes up with all that, and we'll go from there. But for right now, I'm going to say that this job is complete to this point. I'll probably do another video in here because there's definitely more work that needs to be done. The dirt and leveling it out and that kind of thing. But anyway, we got it done. The Bobcat S300, in this case the MTL Grapple, and then of course the Kubota excavator that I used to kind of accomplish this job. So for right now, we will call this job done. On to the next job.